Mavuika, what happened? Where are the healers? They're fine. Well, mostly. It's Saurian blood, not the travelers. They arrived at the stadium ahead of a retreating group from the Flower Feather clan. Said they had an important message for you, and then passed out still standing up. The healers think it's just exhaustion, so with triage, there's not much we can do. The injured should take more priority, they're right. That message worries me, though. That's why I asked the healers if it was safe for me to move them here. Here. This table is strong enough. Lay them here. I'll find something to cushion their head. Is that a tribal banner? It's the best I have on hand at the moment. Were the others severely injured? I didn't stay long to chat. I saw some people carrying others, but whether they were hurt or worse, the casualties are already devastating. The messengers are scrambling. They told me the traveler's been all over the eastern and southern fronts, and you can see from their clothes just how bad it's gotten. We haven't heard from the largest gathering of warriors fighting alongside their Saurian companions in several hours. This blood doesn't foster much hope. More than half the groups have either retreated here or gone dark in the field. I've issued an order for everyone who can to pull back to the stadium. It's safe to assume the traveler went out to the Flower Feather clan to help with the retreat, considering how far out they are. They probably would have left the group on the bridge into the stadium and gone back out to find any other stragglers, if it weren't for that message. Which means the message they were carrying must be critical news. I don't want to rush their healing process, but we need to hear it. How long have they been unconscious? A bit. I wanted to bring them in immediately, but the doctors needed to check them over first. It took a bit of monitoring before I got the all clear to move them. I think it's been an hour or so. In that case, I might be able to do something. Do you still think this is a good idea? It's a hard call to make, but that message could be a turning point. No, I mean waiting. How much longer can we hold out for the last ancient name-bearer to appear? That's an even harder call. It feels like we're losing too much. Maybe even losing this war. We are making sacrifices. But are they the right ones? I appreciate your frankness, Xilonen, and I'll respect it by being just as frank myself. I am not afraid to make the necessary sacrifices our nation needs in order to survive. But I refuse to make a single unnecessary sacrifice. Every death weighs on me. It always has. Even the victors of the pilgrimages who ultimately lost their battles in the Night Kingdom. These are my people, and it is my duty to protect them. I will never take their deaths lightly. I know, Archon. That wasn't what I meant. I know. It still bears stating outright. The Natlanese who fight choose to fight, and in doing so they accept the risk of making their own sacrifices. As their Archon, it is also my responsibility to honor their choices. They are willing to sacrifice their own lives to protect the lives of their countrymen. I will not betray that devotion by sacrificing the soul of this land and all its history unless it is the only way to save my people. As we stand now, I still have hope. But what if we're wrong? Or what if we hold out hope for too long? And even though the final bearer arrives, we realize the damages and loss while we were waiting are greater than they would be if we just used the Gnosis today. I mean, how do we ever know when the right time to make the call is? Wait for Malibu Kanich to weigh in? You already ignored his counsel once. I didn't ignore his opinion. I do value what he and you have to say, and your insights on the situation. I just don't allow that to be the only perspective I factor. Your strategic minds are invaluable, but you both think in very clear-cut, literal ways. Your shared weakness is that you only account for what is most likely to happen, without accounting for the powerful surge of emotions people will experience as it happens, and the strength those emotions can grant us. In contrast, it has always been my duty to monitor the sacred flame, and to bear witness to the fervor within the Natlanese hearts. So, as I consider your counsels, I also weigh it against the fighting spirit of the people. I understand what you're saying, but you must have nerves of steel to be able to make decisions based on things so intangible as emotions. My stomach is twisted in knots, and I'm not even the one making the call. It is nerve-wracking, but I've had a long time to get used to it. The Scions of the Canopy have always loved extreme sports. Cliff diving, grappling hook zip lines, mountain parkour. I remember when I first learned the other clans don't play games like us. I thought we were crazy for taking such big risks. But there were some outsiders who came to visit us and learn our games. After teaching a few of them, I started to notice a pattern. Take grappling lines, for example. Teaching the core concept is simple. The rope is a finite length, so there's a limit to how far it can take you. Newcomers easily understood they needed to consider the distance between their cliff and the next against the length of rope on their hook. And they even knew to factor in how the wind might slow the hook down or push it off course. It was easy to see the tool in their hands and ask themselves if it was enough to take them to their goal, even with the obstacles and oppositions in their path. But, time and again, I'd watch these newcomers stand at the edge of a cliff I'd just jumped, fire off an identical grappling hook with just as much rope as mine, and watch it plummet into the gorge. Oh, how does that work? Did you aim better against the wind? I taught them how to account for that. It was what I couldn't teach them that made the difference. Growing up with the Scions of the Canopy, I'd been jumping gorges for years. I had a feel for my own body and its limits, and I instinctively factored that in among my tools every time I came to the cliff's edge. I knew without even realizing it how far I could jump on a good day versus a bad day, and how to tell which day I was having before my feet even left the ground. I could make a 5-meter rope carry me across a 7-meter gorge because I trusted my body to jump forward 2 meters before I ever even pulled the trigger. But we don't even know if we'll have any rope. I mean, I get what you're saying. You're trusting Natlan to jump far enough that we can close the extra 2 meters in this metaphorical gorge. But without the last member, there is no grappling hook. In that case, Imagine the Gnosis as a safety net strung up between the cliffs. I am relying on Natlan to jump far enough to get us across that gap, but only so long as the gap is still closable. The moment I judge it to be too far for our nation to handle, I will fall back on the Gnosis to catch us before we hurtle to our deaths. But if our people can make the jump on their own strength without losing everything this nation has built, I must guard their right to defend their nation on their own power. I understand. I'm just anxious. I know. I appreciate you being honest with me about it. I much prefer having true counsel to yes-men. Yeah, doubt you'd find many of those around here anyway. Maybe so. It is important to me that you know I understand your worries, though. Fear and worry are just as important emotions as passion. And anyway, I don't want to cause you unnecessary stress. Every anxious feeling is factored into my decision, too. What are you looking for in there? This. It's a special incense Xilonen gave me. There's a method of scrying used by the masters of Nightwind that puts them into a trance, something like lucid dreaming. Normally, they would enter the dream, explore a vision, and then leave at will. But sometimes something goes wrong. In Xilone's case, since she works at such an advanced level, if something were to go wrong for her, it would be a disaster-level threat. So, she entrusted me with an incense to help wake her safely, just in case something terrible were to happen. But for our purposes today, it should be enough to safely bring our friend to consciousness. I do feel bad interrupting their rest. This is probably the first time they've stopped moving since we last spoke. But if they, of all people, had a message for me, we need to hear it. Well, they don't have to stay awake. All they need to do is tell you what they came to say. And then we can find them a cot or a blanket somewhere in the stadium. It might depend on the message, but I hope you're right. Oh, that is a strong scent. Well, that is the point. I don't suppose you can direct smoke the same way you direct fire? Would I be fanning my hands around like a bird if I could? I suppose your aim would be better. Let's see you. Oh, was that a twitch? I'll hold it closer. They're waking up. Here, can you? Yeah, I'll take it. Hey, good morning. Oh, easy now. Don't try to sit up too fast. You're in my chambers. You're safe. I know. Take a deep breath first and get your bearings. I'm right here to listen as soon as you're ready. Mm-hmm. Oh, wow. Talk about timely. I understand. Thank you. I'll send for Kanich and Mualani immediately. You should lie back down for now. At least until she gets the others together. Sorry for what? That wasn't your fault. None of this chaos is your fault. It just is. You were everywhere you were supposed to be and doing everything you could think of to help. You can't hold yourself accountable for the things you couldn't have predicted. War is unpredictable. The mark of a good warrior isn't their ability to do everything perfectly. It's their ability to react fast enough to minimize the damage. We have suffered great and deeply tragic loss today. Once I am able, I will honor each and every fallen Natlanese by name, whether they were a name bearer or not, a warrior or a civilian. But we cannot know how many lives we have saved today. This war has been coming. It would have flattened Natlan to dust by now if it weren't for each individual person who took up a weapon and fought back. Even though we were too late to save some of those lives, each of us is the reason there are still any people alive to take sanctuary in the stadium. We must be aware of our losses, but we must always focus on what we still have. Good. Excuse me a minute while I send for the others. You know, before you woke up, I was talking to her, and I realized she probably takes all of these deaths the hardest. It's hard to put your faith in a plan when you don't know if you have what it takes to pull it off. But I guess that's why Mavuika has the straightest back of us all. If we look to her and see how assured she is, we can find it in ourselves to hope too. Word spread while you were sleeping. Kenich just arrived, meaning everyone has gathered. Like one candle lighting another, our passion and determination can ignite the fight in those around us. So, if you're feeling strong enough to stand, I'd be honored if you would attend our ritual and witness the flame that will guide Natlan to victory.